Hi, this is Tanner Smith, and I'm going to do a commentary for DC and Jess, a short film I made. Good lord, it's been so long ago. It was like the summer of 2013 when I made this film. And I'll just say this isn't one of my best films, but I think it's always going to be one of my favorites. To say I had very few resources while making this film is a freaking understatement because all I had was one camera, no crew. It was just me, my actress, and the two little boys who played the actresses' brothers. Yeah, that was pretty much it. This was just an exercise in directing and in writing and in acting. I didn't know that it would become something just so personal and great to me, but here it is. DC and Jess. It's one of my favorite short films on my own, and I have no hesitation in saying that. It's not perfect. I mean, technically, it's not that well made. I would learn to get better as time went on. Yeah. It's just there's something about it. Okay. Let me just first of all, I'm doing a commentary for the extended cut, not the festival cut. This is more like the director's cut, where you get to see some extended footage of the area and the location, and just getting more of a feel of the atmosphere, and more cursing too. Okay, where do I start here? This is Holly Braden. She plays DC Walker. Well, we don't know her last name is Walker until like the next movie, Manel's Finest. But I guess how this pretty much started out was I was going through a phase that summer where I was wanting to do something more with my films other than what I was doing, because like what I was doing was just these really small scale films, not unlike what I normally do, but like there would be these like really strange stories that sort of takes place in reality but has a sort of supernatural element to it. The problem is I sort of made the stories just a little muddled and sort of confusing, but I had a feeling that I had something with the characters, and so I just thought maybe I should just make films just about these characters. And so I wrote DC and Jess, which is kind of a character piece. I guess I was more inspired by watching movies that summer that were more character pieces, slices of life, coming of age films, all that sort of thing. That's basically what this is, a slice of life. Movies like War Eagle, Arkansas, like Tex, like Mask, Last Picture Show, Sylvester, just like all these films that don't exactly have a particular story. They're more episodic, and it's just showing how these people live their lives. Because what I've learned is if you have a great story, that's great, but if you have great characters, I can write the story for you. I think Doug Walker, the Nostalgia Critic, said that, and I've always remembered that. It sort of struck a chord in me when I first heard that, I think. And then I put it together when I saw those films, and then came up with my own characters, came up with my own dialogue, and I just came up with DC and Jess. This is the First Baptist Church where I used to go to church back in Manila, Arkansas, where the film is set, takes place in. Manila was my home. It was a place that um, I wasn't entirely ready to leave when I left it when I moved to Central Arkansas for school and stuff, but eventually I did work up the courage to like actually go through with it. And this is a film about people who are sort of stuck in this small town and have to find ways to deal with it. And you have DC here. She's looking after her two younger brothers. Um, Parents are gone, and she's sort of the sole provider for them. And you also have Jess, who lives out in the boonies, and um, he's kind of a ne'er do well, but he always looks at the bright side of things. And for him, like the bright side of things is just being out like in the country and just being around all the peacefulness and isolation and stuff like that. It gives him more time to think. He's more well-rounded than you would come across another character who is kind of like Jess, someone who lives out in the country, and you would expect him to be kind of a jerk, redneck type, but he's actually more than that. I mean, hell, even in the opening scene when DC is getting on to Jess about getting in a bar fight, Jess Jess is just, well, he didn't give me a shiner or anything, just a bloody nose. It's no big deal. That's who Jess is. These two little boys playing DC's brothers are actually my cousins, Landon and Lucas, who I call their characters Brandon and Luke. Landon and Lucas as Brandon and Luke. Pretty clever, huh? Something I will admit, though, is that um, if I did film this movie in Conway, I probably would have found someone else to play Jess easily. I only played the role because I couldn't think of anyone else who could. I came across Holly because, like, she and I went to school together, Manila High School, and we hadn't seen each other or, like, contacted each other for, like, a long time since school. And when I was coming home for the summer after my first semester at UCA, I wanted to make this movie after I wrote the script, and I heard somewhere that Holly had did some theater acting at Arkansas State University, and I heard she was in town, so I just messaged her, and I was like, hey, so I got this movie, would you like to be in it? And she was like, yeah, sure. And so we did this thing. And yeah, these cotton fields and this gravel road, it's where I used to live. It's where my parents live now. I like that shot. Okay, what else can I talk about? Like I said, this is the extended cut where you got to see more of the, more of the land, more of the location, get more of the atmosphere. Just driving through these gravel roads, going past the cotton fields, Jess going off work, getting the pizza, driving past the bar, and coming up here is a extended conversation between DC and Jess that I originally cut out of the movie, but you see part of it in the opening of the sequel, Manila's Finest, DC and Jess Part 2. I cut it out mainly for time, for the most part, because it didn't really have anything relevant to say other than, well, food. The original cut was 14 minutes long. It's also on my YouTube channel. It's about it's called the Festival Cut, because this did show at 3 festivals in Arkansas. First there was the Conway Film Festival, and then the Royal Film Festival in Benton, and then the Ozark Foothills Film Fest in Batesville. A festival I'm really proud to be in every time. What really surprised me was the first festival it showed at, the Conway Film Festival. It actually won an award there, something I was very happy about. It actually tied with another film for Best Screenplay. That film had already won so many awards that they just gave me the Best Screenplay award. I mean, we both tied for the award, but I got to keep the award.
That's cool. I tried making scrambled eggs once. It didn't really work out.
I'll always remember that moment. Just sitting in the audience during the award ceremony and listening to the moderator just list out all the awards.
Is that what your brother say?
And then he said, now we come to Best Screenplay, and we have a tie because it was a really difficult choice, and it is Citizen Noir. That's one of the films. That was a UCA DF4 film. We have Citizen Noir and DC and Jess. He just came right out and said it, DC and Jess. And I was like, whoa, really?
Sounds good.
Oh man, I was.
Sometimes I'll just order out. I'll get pizza.
I was still pretty fresh at UCA. I was still kind of new, still trying to find my place, even though I was still making behind-the-scenes documentaries. I was still trying to make my mark. Having DC and Jess play in the Conway Film Festival was a good way to do that, and winning an award for it. This is that scene I was talking about that I cut out the first time that I put in about half of in the sequel.
I'm gonna get a Coke. What do you want?
Coke.
I started writing the sequel just shortly after I finished editing this film, mainly because I love the character of DC and I wanted to do something more with her, and so I just wrote another script. It was a longer script, and it explored more of, of her life, of where she lives and stuff like that, and I put in some more people in it, put in some more characters, like her grandmother, and her mother who abandoned her. And, well, okay, I'll go into more detail like in the next commentary, which is going to be for DC and Jess Part 2. This is inside the First Baptist Church, and originally this whole sequence where they're like having their big talk, this was supposed to be in the cotton field near Jesse's house. We couldn't do that because it rained really hard that week. It really, it just there was no way to do it, so we just moved it to an interior. So yeah, big shocker. The rain that you see through the windows outside this place is all real. We didn't have a big rain machine or anything. Yeah, I know, big surprise, right?
No, just don't speed or get pulled over before you get it fixed. Then you won't have to show your license at all.
Me and Holly got along really well during this.
You're smart, you know that? Jim always said you were smart, you see.
He said that.
And she was a damn good actress.
And if it seems like I'm rambling or just want me to shut up, just say so. I mean,
And yeah, among my
You want me to be the one to never
lack of resources, I didn't have proper lighting here. I mean, I guess you can see it okay, but it could have been lit a little better.
I'm reacting. This is what I do here.
well, maybe I don't like to hear myself talk all the time.
Hey, you
Oh yeah, what they're
know
talking about here about how Jess's lips
every
continue to
time you
move
see me, your lips
even when he's finished talking. That is actually a tick I used to
You
have
just
back
do it
in
again.
high
It's
school
you're
because
repeating
like
yourself, silently or
it was
something.
just a habit
Every
that I
time
used to
you
have
move your
because
lips,
I was
just
always worried about saying the wrong things that I normally don't think before I
Yes,
say
they
a lot of
do.
things.
They really do.
So sometimes I just mouth the words so I can make sure I said exactly what I said. Someone pointed that out back in high school, and I think that was the inspiration for this scene. Okay, scratch the I think part. I know it was the inspiration for this scene. I think I still do it to this day.
Yeah, you're still doing it.
I just
Great's right.
never seem to notice it.
Thanks a lot, DC. Thanks a lot.
I don't mind Jess. Besides,
So here we have DC and Jess just sitting down and
Girlfriend now, aren't you?
having a real conversation.
well, I guess that means you moved with
I mean,
me.
like,
I have a contest.
you could tell that they've had conversations before,
Funny.
but now with their boyfriend and girlfriend, they have to
Like this when you talk about stuff.
have an actual conversation about stuff that's profound, kind of deep, really insightful,
Okay.
and
You know what you're supposed to have done?
they just weren't prepared for this.
You're supposed to have moved out of your hometown, gone to college,
And
not be taking care of two little boys who look at you like you're their mother, even though
what
you're
can I
just
say
their
about it?
sister.
You get to know a little more of the characters here,
Feel trapped because every dollar you make working, you
and
gotta
it's just,
save
I'm sorry, let me
to get
just
out of town.
collect my thoughts here because like
You're not wondering
there was a
what it would
lot
be
that
like if you
I
took
could really
those
say
little
about this
boys and
scene,
just left them at their grandma's.
but
Or what
I'm
it
just
would be
not.
like if you just
I guess I'll just say what comes to mind, really. Okay, well, I intentionally wanted the film to start out as a somewhat quirky romantic comedy about like DC confronting Jess about, the bar fight and everything, and Jess telling her, not to care so much because she's not his girlfriend, and she simply responds, "Who says I'm not?" And then this is their first date. Well, quote unquote date as boyfriend and girlfriend. Their day is rained out and they go to a church and they just talk. And what are they talking about? They're talking about regrets, about opinions, about resentment, dreams, philosophies, hopes, possibilities for the future. And by the end, they've had the most real conversation in their lives, and
do you.
they're stuck in this small town. But they have at least one reason to be optimistic about the future.
You know,
Each other.
Lost Cane Farms is my home. I've lived there my whole life.
They have someone to talk to
One
now.
of those cotton fields, taking a walk every day.
That's what I was really going for, and that's what I think I delivered.
I guess I've gotten used to it or something. I know. I noticed the isolation and the peacefulness that comes with the emptiness.
You know,
It's like there's an essence to it or something. I just noticed.
if I ever made these films in Central Arkansas, and
Be insightful when you want to be. Surprises you.
if I ever made these films in Central Arkansas, it'd be unlikely that I would find a better actress to play DC than Holly Braden.
What surprises me is
I really think she's that good.
why would you want to waste time with me?
She just fit the personality so well.
What about the boondocks? You live here in town with your brothers. And well, I'm Jess and you're DC. That's why.
And I was just surprised that we got to hold on this shot for so long. I think one of the teachers at UCA,
I'm kidding.
who was one of the judges for the Conway Film Festival,
So,
At one point,
what is this essence?
I was in
What's the
I was in the
message?
elevator with him
Isolation and desolation
in
create
the
homes,
film building
dreams,
on
movement.
campus, and he said, "I'm really impressed that you were able to hold on a shot like that and just
Some people
have a
have
natural
depression.
conversation like that."
Some
And
people have
I said,
fastest
"Yeah, I
progress.
know," and it was scripted,
Wait,
but could you tell? And he was like,
a
"No."
little longer. All our friends living in Memphis and Little Rock, they're all coming home. They can't stay around long enough.
And like I said before, DC is my personal favorite character ever written.
Didn't you say you wanted to leave?
No,
And here we are. It's been
I
4 years,
thought
and
about leaving.
I don't think there's a
I never
character I
got to
like
the
more than
point.
DC. I mean, here's this woman who has lived in Manila
So
her
you
whole life
plan
and
to live after these kids?
probably had plans of leaving right after high school until life got in the way and she had to care for her two little brothers.
It's like I'm
And
only gonna leave for 6 months.
she's caring, she's responsible, she's a little sarcastic, a little sardonic,
There's
and
a
she
chance
will
that
make time for her friends because
I love
she
them.
does need to talk to someone. Like she needs to talk to Jess here. Maybe you don't really feel these two as boyfriend and girlfriend, but you do feel them as
What?
Yeah, before you know it, you're gonna wind up leaving those kids because you can't take it here anymore.
friends,
I will not.
It'll hit you sometime.
really close friends.
You'll come up with enough money. You'll drop the boys off at your grandma's. And you'll get out of here. You'll get a job and you'll find a new life elsewhere.
Fat chance.
Man,
Maybe you should leave, Jess.
But where am I gonna go?
You come with me.
Don't kid me.
I think I knew this film was gonna actually do something when I first showed it to people because, like, when the summer ended, I showed it at a friend's house where a few people were. It was like a premiere thing, and I just
This is the weird
showed them this film, and they were really moved by it, which is really weird because it's just mainly two people talking,
It's just the least
but it's
fun.
more than that, I think.
truth.
It's gonna go on like this for a while, isn't it? Us talking like this.
And I just felt like I
Conversations
made this
just being
film
like
because
boyfriend and girlfriend.
I had to. I had to see what I could do with directing and writing, and
This time, now that you know what happened when I leave the conversation.
I'm not the greatest actor, but I don't think I do that bad of a job here as Jess.
This is getting weird. Wanna grab some pizza?
What else can I talk about? Well, I guess I can talk a little bit about the sequel. I wrote it
Oh man, it's really coming down out there.
shortly after this film was made. Or no, I think I may have wrote the script when I found out I got into the Conway Film Festival. The original film did.
Why'd you go to the bar the other night?
I told Holly about it. She really wanted to do it, and our plan was to make it that Christmas break. So I had about 2-3 months to set everything up.
This on you again. I'll shoot him in the face next time.
Some pretty fun stories there I like to look back on, and I'll get into those in that commentary.
Seriously though, I'm never going
There was a
back
third film involving DC and Jess that I sort of wanted to make to sort of round off the trilogy. It was called Visiting,
It's terrible. It's
and it was where
But have I heard?
DC's mother, who ran out on her and her brothers like long ago, wants to come back to town and start anew because she knows that she's messed up and she wants to start all over again. DC is just not sure that she wants to do that.
Ready if you are. Count of three.
I think we were gonna make that film the summer after we filmed Manila's Finest sequel, but things just got in the way and we just weren't able to plan for it, let alone do it. So I mean, I still like to do it, but we'll see. And there we go. It's DC and Jess. Not one of my best shorts, but it's one of my personal favorites. I didn't have much, but I just made do with what I had. Well, thank you very much for listening to me, and I will see you in the commentary for DC and Jess Part 2. Take care.